Hey MooTubers, my name is Moo and today's podcast topic is pain. I'll be sharing 9 tips for dealing with pain and more. So these 9 tips are just some of the things I've learned from many years of living with a chronic illness myself. I've got the classic wounded healer archetype if you're familiar with Carolyn Mace's work. In the early years, I was searching for answers, for diagnoses. I read a ton of books. I did years of research and trial and error on myself, and you name it, I've probably tried it. But now, and for the past many years, I really just listen to my body, and I rely on my intuition. Intuition is really has the answers for me. It's the I know that I know that I know. And even though I don't know where the information comes from, it just does, and I trust it. So when I first thought about doing this podcast on the topic of pain, what immediately came to my mind, and synchronistically, was an oldie but a goodie song called See Me, Feel Me, written by The Who from their album Tommy. The lyrics go, see me, feel me, touch me, heal me. And I think that's what our chronic pain might be saying if it had a voice. It might be saying that, like us humans, it just wants to be seen, felt, touched, and healed. In other words, it wants to be known, understood, accepted, and even loved, which is just another way of saying allowing and accepting it. And I know that's not always easy to do, but I also know that it can be done. So pain is the body and the mind's way of letting us know that something is off or something is out of balance and it needs to be noticed and taken care of. Literally taken care of. Pain has a purpose. Our pain is telling us, and it's sometimes screaming at us, right? Pay attention to me. See me. Feel me. Touch me. Heal me. And in many cases, that's exactly what we can do when we acknowledge the pain and we curiously observe it. So if we can do that, and I know it's not easy with excruciating pain, but if we can get to that place, we might even be able to uncover what it's trying to tell us, rather than judging it, disapproving of it, wanting to get rid of it, trying to deny or ignore it, which, by the way, usually just ends up with the pain increasing even more, right? I came up with this saying several years ago: exchange judgment for curiosity. And I think that can apply when we're dealing with pain. Pain is very adept at capturing and holding our attention, right? Understandably so. I mean, it's got a job to do. It's our body's built-in alarm system, and that comes in quite handy in acute or emergency situations. But for this podcast, I'm going to focus on chronic pain. So first, just a few quick statistics that will put pain into perspective. Chronic pain is at epidemic proportions. More than 30% of people in America live with some type of chronic pain. That's more people than live with cancer, heart disease, and diabetes combined. And in 2015, the National Institutes of Health said that 25.3 million adults in America suffer with daily pain. Yikes. And 23.4 million adults reported living with a lot of pain. Even if it wasn't daily, they lived with a lot of pain. That's a lot of people in a lot of pain. And that doesn't even take into account the people who don't report their chronic pain or seek help for it. And sadly, pharmaceutical pain meds are not solving this epidemic chronic pain problem. So now I'm going to share a few ideas that have helped me and others I know with pain. Some of it might sound a little silly or paradoxical, but paradox is often where the magic lives. The magic healing. Number 1. So the first thing is simply observe the pain. Just observe it. When we're in pain, the mind gets obsessed with, trying to figure it out, what's causing it, how to get rid of it, resisting it, wanting to make it go away, medicating it, trying to ignore or deny it with various distractions, and so on. But what would happen if you just curiously observe your pain without any judgment and without wanting it to go away or be other than it is? Just watch it as a curious observer without any agenda and notice what it feels like. Notice what type of pain it is. Label it. Like, is it a stabbing pain, a crushing pain? Is it intermittent or constant? And try to observe it not in a judgy or trying to figure it out kind of way, but rather in a friendly, I'm curious and want to get to know you kind of way. Number 2, don't try to get rid of it. Don't try to get rid of it. I know that sounds paradoxical, but rather than trying to get rid of it, try to befriend it if possible. Maybe even talk to it. Personally, I talk to my body and it usually listens to me. So, for example, you might say to your pain, "Hey pain, how are you doing, my old friend? I see that you're back. Thanks for doing your job. I got the message. I hear you loud and clear. What are you trying to tell me, pain?" Something like that. Whatever you want to say. I could just imagine. And then just listen as you keep observing. Is there a message in your pain? If nothing comes up, just sit with it. Just be with the pain. And something might come up to you. Something might come to you. Pain is often connected with our emotions. And by the way, that doesn't mean that it's all in your mind, because it's not all in your mind. So it might be connected to a trauma in your past, or stuffing down emotions or feelings, or not expressing anger, or some other emotion that we're often told is not okay to express. Number 3 is breathe. Just breathe. When we're especially in a lot of pain or excruciating pain, we take these sort of very shallow, quick little breaths, right? It's just about all we can handle. In the midst of experiencing pain, try to breathe into the pain as you continue to observe it. Just take slow, long, deep breaths. Maybe you could inhale a count of 4, hold for 4, then exhale on a count of 4, or whatever count works for you. That sends a signal to the body and the brain that you've noticed and acknowledged the pain alarm signal, and that you recognize it, you feel it, and that it's okay for it to stand down a bit. So slow, deep breathing is really calming, and it relieves some of the built-up tension and stress that happens when we're in pain. It also alleviates anxiety, because we can get scared, we can get anxious when we're in a lot of pain. Number 4 is laying hands on your pain. This is a simple, gentle technique that you can use anywhere, anytime. Ideally, you would be lying down, but it's not necessary. If possible, you want to wash and dry your hands, and then you rub the palms and fingers of your hands together briskly for about 5 seconds or more. Shake them out for a few seconds, and then slowly bring them together with one palm facing the other palm, but not close enough to touch. And you want to keep them about 2 to 3 inches apart. And you will feel a warmth and your body's own energy in that space between your hands. And sometimes it helps to close your eyes to feel it. This is known as qi, or life force, in Chinese medicine. And then gently place your hand or your hands over, like 1 or 2 inches above or directly on the painful area, and then just sit or lie quietly for as long as you want to. It's very relaxing. The body is self-regulating. It's a master at healing itself, if we give it enough time and space, and if we get out of its way and we don't do things that will impede the natural process of healing. So just let it do its thing while you place your hands on the pain and continue to observe and breathe into it. And by the way, if any emotions come up, just acknowledge whatever's coming up without judgment. Just observe, acknowledge, and experience it. See me, feel me, touch me, heal me. So here's one example of laying your hands on pain if you have a headache. Place one hand over your forehead and the other hand directly behind it on the back of your head. And then relax, close your eyes, and hold that position for at least several minutes. Another technique is to place one hand gently on your forehead, which can also help with anxiety because it encourages the blood flow to return back into the frontal lobe area of the brain behind the forehead. Like if you'll notice, humans often spontaneously place a hand on the forehead when we forget something important or we're given some kind of shocking or disturbing news. It's like it's the oh my god gesture, right? I also have a video on facing anxiety rather than trying to get rid of it, so I'll put a link to that somewhere here as well. So continuing on with the list, number 5 is hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. In certain cases, like with a headache, for example, drinking a glass of water at the first sign of pain or discomfort helps. And I don't need to go into the importance of drinking water. I mean, we can't live without it. I think pretty much everyone knows that by now. We also need enough water every day to flush out toxins and cellular waste through our kidneys and our elimination organs, including the skin. For example, my own cervical spine and neck injury that sometimes causes me pain and discomfort. Not so much anymore, but occasionally. I make sure to always drink enough water every day because it helps. I also use magnesium oil on the skin, and I use a CBD without THC lotion daily on my skin or on my neck or wherever there's pain. You can put it anywhere there's pain. That combination, in addition to taking vitamin D, vitamin B12, and a B complex supplement, is what works for me with my particular pain and symptoms. Number 6 is magnesium. Magnesium is so important. An estimated 80% of Americans are deficient in magnesium. That means almost everybody in America is deficient, and I would say that perhaps almost everybody in the world is. So 2 factors of magnesium deficiency are stress and taking prescription drugs. And one thing that magnesium does is that it blocks receptors of a neurotransmitter that may cause neurons to be hypersensitive to pain. So in other words, it's a natural pain reliever. It's also a natural muscle relaxant. And you can do more research, look up more benefits of magnesium, but it is definitely something that most, if not all, people should be supplementing every day. Number 7 is reflexology or shiatsu, or pressure point massage, and you can do it yourself. There are pressure points in our feet and hands that correspond to our organs and parts of our body. There's a wonderful book by Donna Eden called Energy Medicine. I'll put a link to that in the description as well. In the book, Donna teaches various pain relief techniques, such as what she calls chasing the pain, or pinching, where you pinch the skin over a painful area in a certain way. And there's also tapping, where you tap a specific meridian on the wrist or ankle depending on where your pain is located, and other techniques. And I've actually used all of those. The tapping on the pain meridians works wonders, really, in my experience. I've used it many times, and within 5 or 10 minutes, the pain is either gone or it's diminished significantly so that I'm not really even paying any attention to it. Number 8 is diet. Now, I know that diet is a controversial topic, and it's also a personal choice, and you might not agree with me here, but based on my own experience and many others that I know and that I've worked with, eating a whole foods, plant-based, healthy, vegan diet is essential to healing. Now, I know some people get turned off by the word vegan or whatever, but you could just think of it as a whole foods, plant-based, healthy diet, and that includes 0 dairy, and I'll get to that. eating this kind of a diet can reduce and sometimes eliminate the underlying causes of the chronic pain. And there are reasons for that, but that's another topic. A zero dairy diet is key. It's key to healing so many things. If you have chronic pain, you shouldn't be eating any dairy or any dairy products or ingredients at all. And I'll post a link to my Just Say No Way to Whey video. I did that several years ago, and I talk a little bit about why dairy and whey in particular is unhealthy for us. If you have chronic pain, you also have to avoid sugar. Wah, wah, wah. I know. Processed foods like the plague. Okay, so you have to avoid, really stop dairy and avoid eating sugar and processed foods like the plague, because really it's kind of like the plague. Chronic inflammation in the body is often the underlying cause of chronic pain. And unfortunately, the standard American diet, the oh so sad standard American diet, is the key factor that creates an out of balance sick body. It creates mucus, stagnant lymph, it creates an acidic condition and inflammation in the body. And chronic inflammation creates chronic pain. So it really is all connected. And there's also some natural pain remedies that are easy to incorporate into your diet, such as ginger, turmeric, boswellia, which is especially good for rheumatoid arthritis, and bromelain, which is found in pineapples, and there's many others. So it's important to note here that if you're actually in a serious health crisis right now, if you want to dig deeper and detox, or you want to get rid of the inflammation in your body for good, then it's actually best to eat a raw food diet, or better yet, go on a fruit, berry, and melon detox diet. You could look up Dr. Robert Morse, ND, on YouTube. He's got a ton of videos where he talks about his fruit, berry, and melon detox diet. Better yet, if you're in serious condition and you want to really kickstart your healing, then fasting would be great. And if you want to learn more about fasting, one of the best books that I'm aware of is an old classic called Rational Fasting by Arnold Ehret, E-H-R-E-T. I'll put a link to that as well in the description. And in fact, if you notice, like if you are sick with, for example, the flu or a bad cold or something, your body naturally rejects food. It wants to fast when it's not well. When it's really trying to heal, it rejects food if you listen to it. So it knows what it's doing. It really does. Number 9, quiet time, unplugging, and sleep. Okay, that's kind of 3 rolled into one, but they're all connected. So ideally, you need to spend some quality time alone in peace and quiet every single day. And that might be in meditation or spending time in nature or soaking in a warm bath, wherever you can be still and quiet and unplugged. So, turn the phone off, put the phone away, unplug the wireless, and bring your chronic pain along with you. I mean, what choice have you got, right? Because you're going to be befriending it, remember? So listen to some soothing music and have it playing in the background as you go about your day. And finally, sleep. Sleep is so essential to our health and well-being. Like the Dalai Lama said, sleep is the best meditation. And I agree, it really is. So perhaps the most important thing we can do, and this applies to everything in life, including pain, is to first and foremost have the courage to face it, whatever it is, to face it and observe it, to be with it, to not fight it, to not fight with it, to learn from it, because it's trying to tell us something. And ultimately, if you can befriend your pain, if you can befriend the discomfort and the fear that it might never leave, and everything else that goes along with living with chronic pain, you might find that you have found the paradoxical key to ending or at least diminishing your painful suffering. And on that note, I'm going to end by reminding all of us, as I said at the end of my last podcast video on finding meaning in suffering, that pain is an inevitable part of life. Suffering is optional. So I hope this podcast video has been helpful. If so, please give it a thumbs up. Share if you think it might help someone else. And please subscribe and ring the little bell so you'll be notified when I post a new Soulmatic Life with Moo podcaster video. I'd love to hear from you in the comment section, so let me know what you think if you have something to add or share on this topic. So thank you so much for listening and sharing this space with me. Until next time, I wish you peace and freedom from suffering.